Have you ever wondered what would happen if Shigaraki was born with all of his memories intact? Would he still choose the path of a villain? Would he accept All for One's offer once again? And most importantly, could he finally become the hero he always wanted to be? Well, as Shigaraki opens his eyes, he is greeted by two familiar faces. His mom, now Shimura, and his dad, Kotaro Shimura. Shigaraki would be shocked by how this is even possible, thinking he's in the afterlife and that this is all an illusion. However, as the years pass, he soon realizes that all of this is real, that he has truly been reborn. Fate has given him a second chance. Shigaraki then vows not to waste it, promising to fix all of the mistakes he made in his past life and to take down All for One for all the bad things he did to him and his family. Knowing how much his father hates heroes, Shigaraki would be much more cautious this time, making sure his father never finds out about his love for heroes. Once he reaches 5 years old, everything begins to change. In the original timeline, after saving his friends Mikun and Tomo from getting hit by a truck, he encounters a mysterious man who holds his arms and takes him to his parents' home. That man is All for One, and by holding Shigaraki's hand, he replaced his innate quirk with decay. In this timeline, everything would still play out the same way, as even though Shigaraki has his past memories, he would still not know that the mysterious man is All for One, which means he will still receive decay. But this time, Shigaraki does not break into his father's office with his sister, meaning the moment where his dad yells at him and forces him to manifest his quirk, it never happens. And as a result, the event where he goes berserk and murders his entire family does not happen in this timeline. Then, as time goes on, Shigaraki's decay quirk begins to manifest itself naturally, and just like before, he still ends up decaying his dog. Realizing that his quirk has manifested, Shigaraki begins to wear gloves and starts training in secret to learn how to control his powers, focusing on limiting decay to small surfaces rather than letting it spread uncontrollably. By the age of 10, he is much stronger than he was at that age in the original timeline, and has far more control over his quirk, able to weaken objects, weapons, and terrain without fully destroying them. After training on his own and knowing that he could still end up in All for One's arms again, Shigaraki goes on a mission to find All Might, hoping to beg him to train him. All Might is shocked at first when he sees a frail young boy standing before him, but Shigaraki soon reveals that his grandmother was a hero, and that he wants to follow in her footsteps. When All Might asks who she was, Shigaraki brings out a picture of Nana Shimura, which completely shocks All Might as he realizes that Shigaraki is the grandchild of his late mentor. So All Might accepts him with open arms and trains him to control his quirk properly, teaching him restraint and precision rather than raw destruction. He even tells him about his grandmother and her heroic acts, sharing how she was killed by All for One, which makes Shigaraki even more determined to become a hero and take down All for One for good. And if you, fellow viewer, would also like Shigaraki to take down All for One, consider hitting that subscribe button. It would mean a lot. But anyway, moving on, by this time Shigaraki reaches 15, he will enroll into UA High School, and thanks to his training with All Might and his past memories, he would end up at the top of his class, acing all of the exams and being considered a prodigy with many agencies wanting him. During this time, he adopts the hero name Reclaimer, a name that reflects how he uses decay not to destroy lives, but to dismantle threats and reclaim spaces during battles and rescues. Since Shigaraki was around 20 years old at the start of the original story, this means characters like Mirio Togata and Tamaki Amajiki, who were 18 at the time, would be his juniors. Now, before going further, let's quickly answer a big question for you. Would Shigaraki help prevent All Might from fighting All for One during their first encounter, which nearly killed All Might? The answer is no. You see, even with his memories and his training, he is still not strong enough to help. He pleads with All Might not to go, but All Might refuses, meaning the battle ends the same way as the original timeline, with All Might being fatally wounded. At this point in the story, Shigaraki has already graduated from UA High and becomes a pro hero, wearing a cape inspired by his grandmother's costume, wearing gloves and dyeing his hair black, gaining recognition for his ability to neutralize villains by decaying their weapons, armor, and footing rather than targeting them directly. Then, at some point, All Might confronts him and asks him if he would like him to be his successor for One for All, but thanks to Shigaraki's memories, he knows that Izuku Midoriya is the true successor, so he rejects the offer and tells All Might that he should wait for someone worthy. From that point onwards, everything goes the same as the original timeline, with All Might meeting Deku, passing One for All to him, training him, and enrolling him into UA. Even though Shigaraki is a pro hero at this point, he still ends up teaching future heroes at UA, choosing to do so in order to spend more time with Deku and train him further on how to use One for All, preparing him for the battles to come. This gives Deku a massive advantage, as he now not just has one mentor, but two. This leads us directly into the entrance exam. And just like in the original timeline, Deku defeats the robots, but when the time comes for him to save Ochako from the giant robot, thanks to his training with both All Might and Shigaraki, he's able to defeat it using only a small percentage of One for All, causing far less damage to his body. From here, everything would go the same way up until the League of Villains attack at UA High. And even though Shigaraki is no longer a villain, the attack still happens because All for One still has backup successors like Dabi, which means that Dabi ends up leading the assault. However, thanks to Shigaraki and his memories, he's able to stop the attack early, taking down several villains with ease and using his decay quirk to collapse terrain and disable enemies. He would also give Deku a chance to grow, allowing him to take on the aquatic villains. When Deku ends up in the shipwreck zone along Tsuyu and Minata, thanks to Shigaraki's teachings, Deku is able to defeat them with ease using controlled bursts of One for All, and without destroying his fingers like he did in the original timeline. Shigaraki would proceed to defeat the Nomu himself before All Might even arrives. This means the iconic speech All Might gives in the original timeline never happens. And Aizawa doesn't get brutally injured. This act would make both Dabi and the remaining villains retreat, with the victory being much cleaner than before. Then, when the sports festival arrives, everything would pretty much stay the same as before, with Izuku Midoriya clearing the obstacle race just like before. In the one-on-one tournament, Deku would still face Hitoshi Shinzo, but his biggest fight would still be against Shoto Todoroki. Here, there would be a huge difference from the original story. Thanks to his training with Tomura Shigaraki, Deku would be able to use a small percentage of One for All, thus destroying Todoroki's ice attacks without destroying his body. As time goes on, Deku would still give his heartwarming speech, successfully breaking through Todoroki's mental barriers just like in the original timeline. And when the time comes for Todoroki to unleash his flames and have their explosive collision, Deku would be able to use 50% of One for All in both arms, successfully defeating Todoroki and winning the match without sustaining major injuries. This means Deku would take first place over everyone, making both All Might and Shigaraki proud. When the internship program starts, Deku would be sent to Gran Torino, helping him control One for All even better. The only difference is that he would also be training with Shigaraki at the same time. With both mentors at his side, Deku would grow even stronger, mastering One for All far better than he did at this point in the original timeline. Thanks to Shigaraki's memories, he would already know about Stain and his plans to attack heroes. As he trains Deku, he would tell him everything he needs to know about Stain, including his blood-based paralysis quirk and how to deal with it. When Aida attacks Stain, though, he would still get destroyed. However, he would be saved by Deku. As the battle begins, Shigaraki would hide in the shadows, watching and waiting to swoop in if needed. The battle, it would be fierce, but thanks to Deku's advanced control of One for All and Shigaraki's advice, Deku would be able to take down Stain with ease before Todoroki even arrives. The young hero would put Stain down for good. Stain's dramatic arrest would actually slow down the League of Villains recruitment efforts, since his capture would not inspire many villains to join their cause. And now guys, this is where things get really interesting. At the forced training camp, thanks to Shigaraki's memories, he would know that the League's plans to capture Bakugo. He would rush to action, telling Bakugo to stay inside along with the other students, and warning UA teachers to protect everyone. When Dabi and the League of Villains appear, Shigaraki would be fully prepared. He would filter the poisonous gas, ensuring no one gets injured, then proceed to take on the villains all by himself. Meanwhile, Deku would still face Muscular just like before. However, this time he would be far stronger and would defeat Muscular with ease, saving Koda in the process. But unknown to everyone, the real plan begins to unfold. All for One, in a very Aiza-like fashion, orchestrated everything. Y'all, I'm talking Shigaraki's birth, him getting the decay quirk, everything. The reason he had his eyes on Shigaraki from the very beginning was because he always wanted him to be his successor. The plan was never to capture Bakugo, but to capture Shigaraki. And even though Shigaraki is incredibly strong, he would still have trouble taking on several villains at once. After sustaining heavy injuries, he would be knocked out unconscious and captured by the League of Villains. This would shock everyone at UA, especially All Might and Deku. Meanwhile, in the League of Villains headquarters, Shigaraki finally encounters All for One, who expresses how impressed he is with Shigaraki and how he was able to turn that quirk that was made for destruction into something much more. He tells Shigaraki of his grand plan. However, just like before, when the heroes were able to track Bakugo, they would be able to do the same for Shigaraki. So, before anything else can happen, the heroes would storm the hideout and rescue Shigaraki, just like in the original timeline. The battle between All Might and All for One plays out almost the same. However, thanks to Shigaraki and his memories, he is able to save everyone and help All Might in the fight. So thanks to this, All Might wouldn't sustain any major injuries, and even though Shigaraki would still be greatly weakened, he is able to assist All Might, and he would be able to land his United States Smash attack much earlier in the fight, taking down All for One. All Might would even still reveal his true form to the world, though, officially retiring from hero work. The only difference is he would still retain small percentages of One for All instead of being completely spent, and most importantly would survive with much better health, making him a vital asset in the future battles to come. Fast forward to the Shihasakai arc. Here, Shigaraki would tell Deku about Overhaul, telling him everything there is to know about his quirk. He would train him, making him even stronger and allowing him to unlock some of his One for All abilities like Black Whip and Fajin much earlier. When the the arc begins, everything would play the same with Mirio losing his quirk. However, thanks to Deku being much stronger, he would be able to take down Overhaul. Even though the battle would be fierce, he would be able to manage a whole lot better, eventually allowing him to take down Overhaul without the help of Eri. This also means that Sir Night-Eye wouldn't be brutally injured in the battle, as Deku would have the battle under control, and everything would go smoothly, with Eri being rescued and would be taken to Aizawa for protection. Continuing, since the League of Villains failed to capture Shigaraki, All For One would decide to make Dabi his successor. To prove himself, Dabi would be tasked with subduing Gigantomachia. The battle would be fierce, but thanks to his cremation quirk, Dabi would win. His next battle would be against Ray Destro. Using his immense flames, Dabi would overwhelm him and grow significantly stronger, fully proving himself as All For One's successor. Impressed, All For One sends Dabi to Dr. Graki's lab, where a massive operation is performed to transfer the All For One quirk into his body. The process involves extreme physical enhancements, quirk transfers, and body modifications, turning Dabi into a perfect vessel for All For One's power. With a massive power boost, however, thanks to Shigaraki's memories, he's able to find the lab, destroy Dabi's capsule before he reaches full power. Because Dabi's quirk destructive capabilities aren't as powerful as Shigaraki's, this means the explosive decay wave that took the lives of thousands wouldn't happen in this timeline. The battle between Dabi and the heroes would be fierce, as Dabi's explosive quirk combined with All For One would make him much fiercer. At some point, Dabi would decide to fight his own brother. Would still happen, but with Dabi's overwhelming strength, he would defeat Todoroki with ease, but wouldn't kill him. Everything would stay the same up until the final confrontation against All For One and Dabi. Things would change drastically from before, because thanks to Shigaraki and him training Deku, some heroes would be at their absolute peak, yo. All Might would be healthy, Sir Night-Eye would have fully recovered and would be able to fight with strategy. The heroes would be much more efficient this time around. When All For One finally appears and makes his final move, Deku would be the one leading everything, using the full array of One For All's quirks that he mastered much earlier than before. Black Whip, Float, Danger Sense, Smokescreen, Fajin, and Gear Shift would all be at his disposal thanks to his training with Shigaraki. When facing Dabi, this time both Todoroki and Deku would be present in this fight. Here the battle would be intense, but there would be a lot smoother things going on thanks to Deku's One For All abilities and Todoroki's quirk. They'd be able to put down Dabi for good. However, just as he is about to go, both Shoto and Dabi would express a brotherly bond almost similar to Sasuke and Itachi's, with Dabi apologizing to his younger brother for all he has done before passing away. With this, everyone would join forces in taking down All For One. With Shigaraki, the battle would be a lot more manageable, allowing the heroes to finally put an end to All For One's reign of terror once and for all. With both All For One defeated and Dabi gone, the era of villains would finally come to an end, thanks to Shigaraki's guidance, allowing Deku to awaken his quirk much earlier. Deku is able to fully retain all his One For All quirks, since he wouldn't push his quirk to its absolute limits thanks to the support he got. As the dust settles and society begins to heal, Shigaraki would begin to see just how much different everything turned out. Aizawa would still be a teacher at UA High since he wouldn't sustain life-threatening injuries. Everyone would continue to live and see the world they fought to protect, grow, and rebuild itself. Class 1A end up graduating, becoming professional heroes. Years after graduation, Deku would end up being the #1 hero in the world, becoming the new symbol of peace. Bakugo would end up being #2, annoyed but still excited. Todoroki would be #3 in the world, also fully reconciling with his family. And with everything he has done, Shigaraki would end up retiring from hero work, end up teaching future heroes full-time at UA, still recognized as a hero, respected by everyone for what he accomplished. Hero society, it moves on, not built around a single symbol anymore, but an entire generation that survived, learned, and grew stronger together. So, to answer the question, guys, if Shigaraki was reborn with his memories, he would definitely become a hero that would save everyone. And guys, if you liked this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and press all the buttons and the like button, and ring the bell icon. That's a good one. Press that one for me. And also, feel free to check out this video where I find out what would happen if Deku were reborn with all of his memories. Bye-bye!